Hello everybody, Prepper003 here today, and today I want to talk to you guys about cross-training. Now, cross-training is important to both the preppers that watch my channel and the militia. But I'm going to gear this one a little bit more towards the militia, so it's a militia concept video. Now, why is it important? And I'm going to just cover that really shortly because there's a lot of different things that come with cross-training. Now, I know cross-training is heavily invested in firearms and different types of firearms, different types of accessories, different types of optics and stuff like that. So trying to know every single thing about firearms is really difficult, especially when it comes to all the wide variety of firearms, whether it be a bolt-action rifle, whether it be something nice and simple like a basic semi-automatic like you have right here, military surplus rifle, whether it be something like this right here, or a subgun, which is technically a pistol, or a basic handgun like a Glock 1911, or there's other options like if you want to use a battle rifle like this one right here, DMR maybe if you have it set up that way. Then there's some stuff like this, basic AR-15, and the different types of accessories that come along with using a different AR-15, or you can keep it nice and basic and simple and just straight iron sights. Or there's something like this right here, just a basic AKM variant rifle. So there's a lot of different options when it comes to firearms, and there's a lot of different options that come with the accessories that come with the said firearms if you decide to go with either of the options. That way it's not going to fall on me. But right now, like I went over just a good variety of firearms, just kind of giving you a little bit of options. Don't want to forget to just quick cover them. Your basic shotguns as well. If you like to want to stick more towards a home defense or close quarters, if you will, something to just use to keep your friends and family protected while you're at home. Or if you wanted to go in more of a team type of situation where you're working with a team and you are working as a large unit, you might want to go for something a little bit heavier, something like a belt fed. There's a lot of different things that come with firearms, and there's a lot of different types of firearms that you can get, and a lot of different aspects that come with training with each and said firearm. Now, the one thing that's really nice about training and having different types of firearms is you're able to train with them and learn their inner workings and work on them. And what I mean by work on them, and I experienced a lot of this working as a basic gunsmith at my local gun shop, and that is pretty much working and maintaining them. So whether it be maintaining a bolt-action rifle in the field or just at home and at the range, and maintaining an AR-15. So what I mean by that is just knowing what tools you need, how to properly clean them, how to properly maintain them, and how to properly field strip them and take them apart. So it might be just a basic cleaner. You might need to know how to take the bolt apart and replace a firing pin, a spring, or whatever part you need to specifically replace to get your rifle or firearm back up and running. So that's what I mean. And so right now, I don't want to just because it's such a heavily invested topic in trying to tell you guys what different types of firearms to train with, what different types of things to do with each firearm. But the one thing that I'm going to touch on training a little bit towards the end, but it's really hard to try to cover each and every one of these. So I'm just trying to get you guys to a little bit of a variety here on the things that you can look at into different types of areas to train yourself on down the road. Now, another thing that comes with it is mindset. You need to have a different mindset when it comes to approaching one different firearm or topic, whether it be working as the security part of your, and this is why it comes into a bit of a prepper, but working as a security part of your prepper community or prepper team, or working as the mechanic, helping out working as part of the medical team in your group, or working as the basic navigation team, trying to give yourself a wide spectrum of abilities, well, a wide spectrum of knowledge, because that's where it comes down to it, is it's knowledge that you need to know, and that will help you survive and increase your survivability rate in case an SHTF scenario ever does happen. So that's why it comes down to not just firearms, but knowing how to properly take care of yourself in the field if you get hurt or injured, knowing how to properly navigate in the woods without a map or a compass, knowing how to properly take care of your vehicles in case something happens. Just the basic stuff like taking off a tire, changing a tire, or checking oil, trying to do your basic. And I'm trying to keep everything a little bit basic. You don't need to try to delve into each single thing and fully invest, but try to understand the basics of it. So just being able to replace the basic stuff in an engine, being able to like replace a spark plug, change a battery, change a tire, and knowing what might happen whenever something's going wrong with it. And or maybe you need to teach somebody else on how to properly use a firearm. That's where all this cross training does come really in handy with it, is pretty much just understanding the basics of each thing, and that comes down to with the firearms too. Now I'm going to go on to gear a little bit, because it does have to get covered here, just because it is firearms a little bit orientated. The one thing that I would suggest if you are going to focus on cross training and getting multiple different types of firearms is try to orient your gear a little bit that way. That way you're not spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on multiple different chest rigs. Now, I do review a few things, like a few chest rigs, and do a little bit of gear reviews here and there. So I do have a little bit of a variety of chest rigs just because I'm prepping for my family and other people outside of my family. But for an example, what I'm going to show you guys right here is the Mayflower UW Gen 6 pusher rig. And what I mean by that is that this one right here I can use with AR-15, AKM variant rifles, and AR-10 variant rifles, much like my Ruger Precision right here, or with my PTR. So, and if I did need to, I could just remove the insert, put a different insert in, and I'm up and ready to go with that same chest rig, so I don't have to experience and work with training on a whole different chest rig, a whole different type of setup and everything, when it's all basically the same. I still have all the pouches orientated the same, I still have my med kit the same, and I still have my radio in the same place. So that's what I mean by it's good to try to cross-train your gear a little bit, but also try to keep your gear familiarity at the same time, at the same place too. So if you are going to change the whole kit, try to keep at least some of the basic stuff in the same place. That way you're not having you're changing your med kit from your side here to your side here to your side here on an almost monthly basis, or just whichever weapon you pick up. Now you're changing your entire kit, because it's really going to come down to muscle memory, and that's why whenever you get out to train with your firearms, you practice those reps and practice coming up, bang, flipping safety down, coming up, flipping safety, bang, flipping safety up, coming up, bang, just working on those reps and working on training to build up that muscle memory, so that whenever the time comes, you need to quickly bring your gun up and take it off safe and fire, and be able to quickly know where your magazines are to get to your rifle back up and running when your magazine, when your rifle runs out of ammunition, or in case something happens to that magazine, you know where things are to drop that mag, bring that next mag up, come up and be back on target. Or it might come down to you need to know where your compass is on your kit. You might need to know where your flashlight is, your med kit, in case something happens. You don't want to be, like, for example, I'm just going to say, you fall, break your leg, and now you have a arterial bleed, and you have blood coming out. You need to know where your tourniquet is, and if you keep changing where your tourniquet is, you're going to be looking all over whenever those precious seconds count. So that's what I mean by just knowing and keeping your stuff and being familiar with the gear that you're training with. And now on to the best part, training, which I know a lot of us love to do, right? Apparently not a lot of people, because I don't see a lot of people watching those training videos on my channel. Just playing around with you guys. But training is a very important thing when it comes down to it. Whether it's training to work with your gardener, training as a gardener, whether it's training in the medical field, training to understand your vehicles, or training with your firearms for self-defense. Training is something that is heavily needed, and that's where that mindset comes into it, because you need to have a different mindset when it comes to training with different types of topics. Like, for example, there's a lot more patience that comes into it, and a lot more mathematical knowledge when it comes into it, to working with a long-range precision rifle than it is trying to train and work with something like a basic AR-15. They have two different types of set purposes of use. So while you might be needing that first shot to count, this one right here you might be working with a little bit more and a little bit differently on when it comes to the purpose of use. You might need to have a different physical aspect of it whenever it comes to training. Now that can mean you having to do more workouts, do more reps, because you might be having to walk 10, 15, 20 miles with your pack on, your ruck, with your rifle. So that's where it comes down to it, is you need to have a different mindset of approaching it. Like, you might be running very minimalistic for a recon setup if you're going to be just doing a reconnaissance or observation with your long-range precision rifle. But that could be very different if you're looking at maybe a defensive position. So you might want to have more magazines on you than you would with this, because you're not going to be on a moving situation. You might be more static, just as a camp-based compound defense, if you will. So, or like I said, when it comes to more of a team aspect, you might have a completely different way of looking at it, because say, I'm just going to kind of cut off into the militia aspect. Say now you're having to fight in a tyrannical force that's on your land. Maybe it might be UN, another country, or our own government. Who knows what happened? I'm not going to go into a whole tangent on scenarios or specific topics, but you might be having to work on the offensive or working with guerrilla warfare. There's different types of mindsets that you have to have with that chapter, and different types of training that you have to work with for that topic as well. Because like I said, there's a different type of mindset for training and a different type of asset when it comes to training with a bolt action rifle compared to a AR-15, to training with a bell-fed weapon like this one right here. So there's a lot of different ways when it comes about to training. Whenever it's kind of cross-training, as I said before, when it could be you having to train with also learning how to run a bell-fed rifle, to now having to quickly transition over and cover as the long-range precision rifleman. So that's where it comes into really needing to know how to cross-train, because you might have to fill a different role in a matter of minutes. So knowing how to do those different things is where it really comes in handy on being cross-trained, and when that training aspect comes into hand. So you might have to go from now being the rifleman or the precision rifleman to now running over and being the shotgunner for having to breach. And like I said, there's a lot of different things that comes down to it. So just knowing and being prepared and doing the different training with those different rifles, whether it be an AKM or a AR-15, there's a lot of different things that come with training with both. So that's I wanted to keep the video short and then just kind of get your guys' feel on what you think about cross training, whether it be, as I said, cross training from different firearms to different fields, to maybe working around vehicles and training with and in and out of vehicles, to practice working in a convoy or having to move and change around cover. So there's a lot of different things, and you need to be able to work with those different rifles, because, and that's the firearm side of it, because you might never know when something might happen. Something might happen to the current rifle that you say, oh yeah, this is my primary SHTF rifle. And right now I'm just using this as a metaphor here, but this is the rifle that I'm going to use if SHTF happens. And this is the only one that I'm going to use. And SHTF happens and something goes wrong, and all of a sudden now your rifle's out of commission. Whether it be you had a squib and now you blew your barrel out during a firefight, or during hunting season when you're going, you see you quickly come up and boom, the deer doesn't go down. It's perking up, then boom, boom. Now your rifle's out of commission. Sure, that's where it comes into knowing the firearm maintenance. You might be able to change out the barrel, or you might need to know how to use a different rifle, and you might have to transition over to a different rifle. Now, if you have standardization, have a whole bunch of the same rifle, good on you. That makes things a little bit easier. But again, at least practice. Maybe keep a couple of manuals around for different type of rifles, like maybe for an AKM, maybe for a bolt gun, belt gun, who knows. Just kind of keep your options open. So I want to hear what you guys think down in the comments below on what different types of things you would suggest for cross training. Now, like I said, I tried to keep it very short, but kind of cram it all in there as well. But the main thing is firearms is a big topic, mindset, gear, and training. So I really appreciate you guys watching. As I said before, put it down in the comments on what you guys think on cross training. If you think it's a valuable thing to include in your training in your team, or if you're a prepper, training and putting into working on your preps. So I really appreciate it. Have a great day, guys. Prepper003 out.